Well, look, the aviation sector is doing it really tough at the moment. So is the tourism sector, but so is the global economy. So we really need to do what we can to open up the economy and open up air travel. The talk of the vaccine, very encouraging, but we shouldn't be waiting for the vaccine to be rolled out to open up those borders. We've got the encouraging news that really within a few days we'll have those domestic borders open, but let's start looking at those international borders. So let's finalise the travel bubble with New Zealand, and let's start looking to those other countries where we might be having some bubbles, some of those safer countries, Singapore, South Korea, Japan. Let's start working with them. We don't want to wait for the vaccine to open up those bubbles. Let's look at those other measures that we can do. Things like the rapid testing before people might be flying, testing when they arrive, or perhaps reduce quarantine or quarantining at home. That's what we need to do. And like the Prime Minister was saying, we've got lots of pressure on the hotel quarantine system at the moment. So let's look at some other measures that we can implement to help get those Australians home, but also at the same time, help restart travel.
So rapid testing, I mean, there are inherent issues with it because of the incubation period, but it would catch the majority of cases. Isn't the issue here convincing the states? I mean, we just had, for example, people slap restrictions again on South Australia when they had, compared to world standards, this tiny outbreak. Can you imagine when you're talking about safer countries? I mean, if we're talking about Japan and people are looking at the daily case numbers, these state leaders are not going to let these people in, are they? So it's really at the states what your message seems to be pointed towards.
Well, what we want is consistency. We need consistency. There's long lead times for air travel. People need that confidence to book and the confidence to fly. It's not like just jumping in your car. You need to make sure that you've got that hotel arranged and that you've got that confidence to be able to fly where you need to go. So, look, we should be working together. We have a national cabinet. We actually have a fly safe protocol. But most of those states haven't been implementing that as it was endorsed by the AHPPC and National Cabinet. So that really needs to be pulled off the shelf again and looked at to make sure and remind those premiers that that's what we need to do.
Well, remind us what's in that. What's happening that you think would make this a much better situation for flying, and why is it not being adopted?
We need a better definition of what is a hotspot. We need to stop those overreactions like we saw in South Australia for really, although serious, minor cases in the scheme of things, and that's what we need to be looking at to enable people to fly when they need to. We need to have confidence in our contact tracing systems. We need to have confidence in our healthcare systems, and also the confidence in the people who need to fly. We know at the moment people are not choosing to fly because they just want to. They're doing it for a reason. Most of the travel at the moment is for essential business or for essential family and friends situation, a sick relative and so on. So there's not a whole lot of discretionary travel that we've seen in the past few months, but that's starting to pick up, and that's what we want. We want people to be able to get home for Christmas, and we want people to have that confidence that they can get home for Christmas.
We're nearly out of time, but just on these Australians returning home, plenty of reports that airlines are cancelling economy tickets, keeping all the business fares. Look, in one sense, you put the number of people on the plane that earn you the most money, and guess what, you're a business. But this would be disappointing for some people who cannot get home, and it depends how much money you've got on how quickly it can take to get home.
Yeah. Two things that we could do to improve this. We should be using all available cities in Australia. There are 10 airports that are enabled for international travel. So we should be using all of those 10. And we should also be increasing the number of people allowed per flight. It is quite ridiculous that those flights only have 30 people on board. So increasing the number of seats available, that is the Australian government that has mandated that. That is why people are getting bumped off those flights. That's why there's that waiting list. The third thing is that we've got more people leaving Australia than are coming back. So the government really needs to look at that. They're adding to the queue and adding to the list.